Hey, good evening, Mizzou fans. Welcome in to episode 100. Not today, just episode 100 of State of the Tigers. We've done a lot more than 100 shows. I think I've done 100 in the last week, but this is episode 100 brought to you by James Carlton, State Farm Insurance, Webster Grove. So that makes it special in its own right. You can get in touch with James at 314-961-4800 or on the internet at carltoninsurance.net. James is my insurance agent. He's Drew King's insurance agent. We will work on Cody Goodwin to convert him. James is also doing NIL stuff with Josiah Trotter and Kevin Coleman. So James's partners had excellent games, particularly Kevin Coleman on Saturday. Cody, we just started. We are 56 seconds in, and the request for shirts to be off is already in the chat. So,
is this an inside joke that I just haven't learned yet, or like, is there an episode where we actually do take our shirts off, or like, what's the protocol here for this?
No, it's an inside joke that I also don't understand. I was on TMA radio show in St. Louis where I believe their listeners, there's a lot of crossover because the host of that and I graduated from J school or from Mizzou together back in the day. And so I think a lot of his listeners came over and started that, but I found out today he also doesn't know where it started. So we don't really know what the reasoning is, but everyone here has permission to stay flat.
I mean, at some point we got to give the people what they want, right? Like, I'm not putting unnecessary pressure on us, but like, if they keep asking,
look, I have never clicked the explicit button when I've posted a YouTube show, and I don't plan to now. So no, we are a family-friendly football and I was going to say football and basketball show, but that's not true. We just talk about general idiocy all the time. So, Yingling Mike in the chat. Want to thank Mike for the tailgate over the weekend. Really, just want to thank his wife Britt because all Mike did was bring the beer. Britt really did everything else, so she did a fine job of that. Cody, this is you weren't even here earlier. This is the second time I've gotten to hang out on.
How's your voice doing?
Five-star basketball.
How's your voice doing, Gabe? Do you need like you know how like Doc Emmerich would like eat PB&Js between periods when he was calling the Stanley Cup playoffs? Like, do you need something like that after all the pods last week and what you and Drew did earlier today because of the 5-star commit? Like, are you good?
I'm good for now. If I lose my voice halfway through, I might just have you take over. In fact, I might just pretend I lose my voice in about 20 minutes. So if I just quit talking, you can finish the show and chat with people. So we're going to finish. Generally, Monday night, kind of spend a few minutes looking back and anything left over from Saturday that we didn't get to. You got to 41 things you learned, so I don't know if you have anything left over, but do you have anything left over from it?
I mean, there was a couple of like smaller things here and there that I just kind of kept for myself. Like maybe this will be stuff that we can use in stories or just things to monitor. The one thing that I did want to throw in the notebook that I didn't get to because at some point I was like, I probably need to cut this off and just get it published was I wanted to break down each of the 4 sacks that Pavia took during the game because I was intrigued by Drink's comments after the game where he was like, hey, it's only week 2. He's played great today, but we're not crowning anybody. Like there's a lot on tape that they're going to have to go clean up. And so I was kind of curious what he meant by that. And so I paid a little extra attention while I was watching to Pavia's performance, which was phenomenal, right? 30 of 39, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did a lot of it more, like I feel like week 1, the surprise, maybe not the surprise, but it was like, oh man, this dude he can throw it, but he can also run it. Like it's a good mix. In this game, it was almost exclusively with his arm, right? Like he ran a little bit here and there, but it was more, he tore up Kansas's secondary and really their entire defense with all the plays that Kirby Moore was calling. And I mean, it was a great game plan by him and the staff, great execution by Bo and the gang. It was pretty tremendous. But the thing I did want to look at was just kind of the sacks that Bo took and were they his fault? Were the offensive line's fault? Just kind of who was truly at fault? And I think you could argue that maybe 2.5, 3 of the 4 sacks that Bo took were kind of his fault, like maybe holding onto the ball a touch too long, passing up receivers that might have been open. There was one where he kind of stepped into a sack because I think with the lineman, I might have been in the center, Tollison took Tommy Dunn to the ground, and Bo just kind of stepped where his hand was, and Tommy's just like, "You're mine now," right? And so it's an easy sack. So just like little things like that, where it's like, I'm already 2,000 words into this rewatch. I probably should stop here. I don't think people want to watch the sacks, so let's just move forward.
Well,
so yeah, I kind of rambled there.
I think there was definitely two of them that, like, look, we forget this is his first complete game as a college quarterback, but the one that was really bad, and there was a person who, we're not supposed to cheer in the press box, but there is a person who sits down the row from us who is an employee of Mizzou, so I guess he can cheer in the press box if he wants. But like, Bo took the sack that put him into 3rd and 17 with like 6.5 minutes left, and he verbalized what I think everybody was thinking: "Oh, you can't take that sack. Like, you just have to, you have to figure out a way to launch the ball at somebody." So, but yeah, I think we are nitpicking there, probably a little bit. But I'm interested. He runs 10 times for 65 yards against Central Arkansas, and then I don't know if there was there was probably a design run or two, but there weren't many in that game.
I mean, if there was, it didn't look at least obvious while we were watching it live, or when even I was watching it on the rewatch. Like, he had a handful of scrambles here and there where he was able to get out of the pocket or step up in the pocket, and it was 6 yards here, 8 yards there. I think he had one maybe that hit double digits. Like, none of them seemed designed, or if there were, they weren't super effective. And so, like, I think the most impressive part about Bo's performance was that he was able to overcome some of those mistakes, right? Holding on to the ball too long, the fumble earlier that resulted in the scoop and score for Kansas, and was still just incredibly efficient throwing the ball. Like, that was impressive. And then on top of that, one of the things that I made sure to highlight in the rewatch this morning was it wasn't just Bo. Like, it was really the receivers that had a heck of a game too. Like, we talked about Kevin Coleman. Donovan, how do you pronounce his name? I don't want to screw it up. I'm just going to call him Donovan. So Donovan had obviously he had that ridiculous catch. Daniel Blood had a couple of really nice catches. Brett Norfleet was an absolute weapon. The pass catchers in this game, like, both as pass catchers, and then another thing that Drink mentioned post-game that I made sure to watch in the rewatch, the pass catchers and the receivers, really good block on the perimeter, which really helped spring a lot of those bigger runs throughout the game. Like, it was an A+ game from the receiving core in general. Like, they were fantastic in that game on Saturday. And so that was something that I made sure to highlight in the rewatch, which, if you guys haven't read it yet, it's a lengthy one, but I promise you it's worth it. I had a lot of fun writing it. So go check that out on PowerMizzou.com.
So we're getting people in the chat saying that the video somehow is very choppy for them, which is weird because it's fine for me. I'm having no issues. I don't know. Let us know, guys, if this is an issue. Billy, I don't know. Let me know in the chat if something seems weird to you, but it's working perfectly fine on my end. So I hope we aren't having have crappy internet, to be quite honest. But we'll. I don't know. We're getting multiple comments that we are having issues. So I don't really know what to do about it, to be quite honest.
Someone said it
could be a YouTube.
Yeah, someone said it could be YouTube. It could also, I don't know. Like, I'm wearing my Beats headphones. I think last time I wore just like my little wired-in AirPods. So I don't know. I hope they can hear us. We were having a fun conversation.
So I'm going to, Cody, leave the studio, and I'll talk for 30 seconds, and then you come back, and I'll leave the studio, and we'll see if that happens. We'll see if that helps. So
I'll be RB.
Yeah, we're doing our best, guys. Again, it's very weird that you guys can see this, and I can't. Billy says everything's fine on his end, so it's got to be something in the translation here from our end to yours. So we're going to try to get out and get back in. If we have to restart things, we will restart things, because luckily we're only 10 minutes in, and we haven't really said anything all that impressive. So we could always come back if we have to. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to wait until Cody gets back in here. Okay, now people are, I don't know, we're getting reports of it being good and bad right now. So Cody is here now. So we're going to add him to the stage.
I switched my mic in my head.
So
hopefully this helps a little bit. I don't know if it will.
I'm going to leave, and I don't know, Cody, just entertain him for 30 seconds. I don't really care what you talk about. Just don't get us in big trouble.
Hey, mom and dad are gone now. I'm going to have control of the podcast. This is going to be fun. My hand's on the wheel. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to talk about. I mean, before everything got choppy, we were talking about the receivers, and Missouri's receivers, I thought, had a fantastic game. I wrote about it in the rewatch column earlier, just both catching the ball and blocking for the running backs, and really also blocking when their fellow receivers and pass catchers were able to, catch the ball and get yards after the catch and yards after contact. So I guess it's still really choppy, but that's what we were discussing before the sound started messing with you guys. So hopefully when Gabe comes back, we can continue to have a fun discussion about this game, and then also what we think about Mizzou going forward, and then as well as some of the SEC stuff. So let's see. Gabe's back now. Are we good? They were saying it was still choppy with just me, but
yeah, I don't really know what to do about it, to be quite honest. I mean, we could try to start a new stream, I guess. Yeah, it's all messed up. So, all right, guys, hang on.
This is a really sick prank.
Everybody says it's better all of a sudden. So I don't know what happened. Maybe it was my fault, but we're back. This is going to be an amazing podcast, by the way. I'm just going to cut off like the first 15 minutes of it. I don't know what was going on. Maybe it was my fault. It seemed to get fixed when I left. So again, if I can leave, Cody can just hang out here with you guys, and we'll get that done. Anyway,
Mike said sharks are causing interference. I can neither confirm nor deny the possibility of that, but I think it's worth considering.
Yeah. Well, we're not gonna find out if that was the issue. Billy also left, so maybe Billy was messing things up from Nashville, but he's back now. So we'll see how it works. Anyhow, all right. I don't know what we were talking about. Missouri beat Kansas. That was cool. Look, we've done a show through literally a fire, so we can do a show through choppy internet. Like, we can survive this. Missouri beat Kansas. I feel like we put it to bed. It just wanted us to quit talking about that, to be honest. So Missouri is now ranked 25th, 25th in the AP, 26th in the coaches. Clearly, the writer's smarter than the coaches. That's the lesson to take from this.
I think it's good that they finally entered back into the rankings, but I wish I had a hotter take or more. I don't know. I don't even know if hotter take is the right word. Like, I wish I had more of like that's, like a bigger thing to say about that, but it's kind of like, meh, like there's bigger games on the schedule coming that'll adjust the rankings properly.
You're right. If you win 10 games in the SEC, you're going to get in. You're going to be fine. It doesn't matter if you're 25 right now. Like, what I love about rankings is everyone understands they don't matter, but everyone gets so pissed off about it. Like, you can't. And so everybody that says, well, we shouldn't have rankings till week 9, this is why we have rankings in week 2, because it generates all this anger and conversation.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of fluctuation. Like I used to, so like before I started covering college football full time, like I covered high school football back in Iowa for the Des Moines Register, and I was in charge of the weekly high school football rankings, and it was, large classes all the way down to like 8-player football. And the worst rankings we put out every week were the very first ones, because we were like basing it on like, okay, who are the good teams from last year? How many kids do they have returning? What do the coaches think? Like, we would send out a survey at all 300 high schools, and only 100 coaches would get back to us. So it's like, all right, I'm basing this off the coaches. And I would always say like, hey, the worst rankings are this first one, and the most movement we'll see is between week 1 and week 2, because I don't have any idea what's going to happen. And like, same thing with college football. Nobody knows what's going to happen until these guys actually start playing games and we start seeing results finally on the page that give us an idea of how good these teams actually are.
Well, and the funny thing about rankings and the people who do them, outside of Missouri, Kansas, how much football did you see on Saturday?
Not much. Like
I saw the final 2 minutes of K-State Army. That is the entire amount of football I saw other than MUKU. So why would I be qualified to pick the top 25 teams in America? I have seen like none of them play.
Yeah, I was watching, or I'm not watching, but like I do our SEC poll at 24/7 Sports, where all of the SEC writers submit their poll and rank the teams in the conference. And like I I have no clue. Like, I've only seen a handful of those teams. Like, I'm kind of basing it a lot off my gut and like how I felt about the teams. Cause like, we're only in week 2, right? So it's like, how did I feel about these teams coming in? Is that confirmed? Has that changed? Right? Like, for example, I felt pretty good about Alabama, and then they got smoked by Florida State. So I have them in the bottom half of our SEC rankings right now. And so it's like, could that change? Probably, but like, I need a little bit more information before I like fully adjust it. Like, full disclosure, I put Mizzou in the upper half, but when the final poll for week 3 came out, they were like just below the halfway mark. I think they were at 10 or 11 or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that probably makes sense because there's so much about these teams that we just don't know yet. And so like, that's one part of fun, right? Because it's all these big games early in the season teach us some things, but not a lot of things. But then it's also like when they play the Central Arkansas and the Bethune-Cookmans and, you know, the teams that they're supposed to squish like a bug. It's like, well, did we really learn anything? Like, how did it actually look? We aren't 100% sure yet. So it's like, we're all kind of flying by the seat of our pants right now.
I'm a big believer in Bethune-Cookman. I did a deep dive on them in June. I know a lot about them, but that kind of it's a good lead in to what I wanted to talk about, which was, and I'm not sure, like, I'm guessing you didn't have a preseason record in your mind because before the season, you were not covering Missouri. Why would you have gone through the schedule necessarily and decided, hey, I think they're going this record or that record? I picked them 8-4, and I was really debating with myself whether I should come off of that yet. And ultimately I decided no. But like, do you feel better about Missouri, or worse for that matter? Do you feel different about Missouri than you did before the season started?
So there were people on the board that were like, give us a season record prediction, right? And this was after they had played Central Arkansas, and I got to watch that game live and again because I did like a shorter rewatch last week. And my thought watching this team and like knowing what I knew about them coming in, I was like, you know, 9-3 makes a lot of sense. Like, just 9-3. Like, there's going to be some tougher games down the stretch. Maybe they slip up and lose a couple on the road. Maybe, you know, they've got a pretty tough home slate, right? Like, that was before Alabama had lost to Florida State. That was before, you know, watching South Carolina. I haven't really watched them in full, but I've seen some highlights, and they look good. Maybe not great like their national ranking might suggest. And so still learning about some of these teams, right? And 9-3, I mean, I guess now I can see 10-2 maybe a little bit more clear than I did coming into the season. Like, I can understand the path to 10-2 because this team is just clearly different at home. It's nice that a lot of their bigger games are at home, right? But then they still have to go to Oklahoma, who looked pretty good from what I saw, beating Michigan, who had a freshman quarterback, but that was, you know, the best freshman quarterback recruit in the country last year, right? So it's, you know, how much stock do you really put into that? You know, they have to go to Vanderbilt, which looked like that used to be a gimme, but not with Diego Pavia playing quarterback, right? And so, and they still have to go to Auburn and Jordan Hare Stadium down there. That's different, man. Like, that is a different type of, you know, stadium that you have to play in. Like, there's some weird voodoo magic down there some Saturdays. And so I think I felt pretty good about 9-3. I watched them beat Kansas. I saw the mental toughness that it took to overcome that big deficit to beat Kansas. So thumbs up. Like, I do feel better. And I think I can more clearly see a path to 10-2 maybe than I did a week ago. So I guess that means I feel better. How about you?
I feel better about them than I did when the season started. I'm not ready to, like, I said before the season that 7-5 would surprise me less than 10-2. And I think that's different now. I agree with you. I can see the path to 10-2, but also I have to kind of check myself and go, what did I really see? I saw them beat a Central Arkansas team that I knew they were going to beat. And then I saw them beat a Kansas team that I thought they should beat. You know, I mean, they were favored by 7. I picked them by 10, and they won by 11. So I don't know why I feel differently. I think the main reason I feel differently is that I think Bo Perbula is a lot better than I thought he was. But he also still hasn't really played anybody.
I think that's fair.
He's played the 11th or 12th toughest game on the schedule, and I don't know, the 8th toughest game on the schedule, maybe.
There's a part of me that wants to believe that this Kansas win could age pretty well, because I think there's a path for that Kansas team to finish as high as top 5 in the Big 12.
Top 4?
Potentially, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like when you got a quarterback like that, and granted, I haven't really done the whole deep dive into their schedule, but like I know that the Big 12 traditionally is very wide open. And then you see Arizona State lose, Texas Tech is holding serve, Kansas State is struggling, Iowa State looks like they're going to be a cream of the crop team. Like there's a path for that Kansas team to finish pretty high in the Big 12. So I think that like this win may age pretty well for Mizzou. So like right now we think it could be as low as like the 8th toughest game on the schedule. It could finish as the 5th toughest game on the schedule. Maybe maybe that's being a little optimistic, right? Because
that's a stretch. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the potential maybe is there depending on how Kansas does. We'll see. It's a long ways out. But yeah, I mean, like the schedule's up here on the board. Like at Auburn, that's not going to be easy. At Vanderbilt, that's not going to be easy. You get A&M at home. You get South Carolina at home. You get Alabama at home. After this weekend, you get Mississippi State at home. That's a good news. But then you finish at Oklahoma. Arkansas is not a gimme either because they've got a talented mobile quarterback, a really good play caller. Like that's another game that's probably good. It's not going to mean nearly as much as this border war did this past weekend, but like that's a game Mizzou wants to win. So, and at that point in the season, Mizzou could potentially be playing for a spot in Atlanta, could be potentially playing for playoff positioning. Like there's a lot that's going to go into those last 2 games in November, I think potentially. So yeah, I guess I feel better, but I still think there's a little bit more I want to see. And your point about Bo is good, is that like what we've seen so far is good, but what we've seen so far is also like we kind of expected them to do what they've done so far, which is good, but it's also like nothing has really truly surprised us maybe.
I think I would sum it up by saying my eyes tell me they're better than I thought they were, but my head tells me to hold off on like verbalizing that and changing anything I think about the season. Did want to shout out Freeway Jared had the super chat earlier and said he stopped by the tailgate. It was a little after we left. So appreciate you, Jared. I know you're always here. Sorry that we missed the chance to meet you. Dennis Gates was there. There's a picture of Dennis Gates at our tailgate. He was breaking the news of Tony Bryant committing. Not really, but I'm telling myself that's what he was telling those guys right now with that grin. He's like, hey guys, I got some good news coming for you on Monday. I did actually also get like 2 calls at like 2:05 that were like, hey, I'm at your tailgate. Where are you at? I'm like, dude, I've been in the stadium for an hour. I told you I was leaving at 1:00. But so appreciate everybody that did come to that. So we've done the vibe check on Missouri a little bit, but Billy, if you want to flash the schedule back up, I kind of want to do it. I don't care about Louisiana and UMass. They don't matter to me. Those are wins. So I want to talk the kind of how we feel now versus how we felt at the beginning of the year about some of these other teams here. Feel better or worse about South Carolina? Like, do you think South Carolina is better or worse than you thought they were 2 weeks ago?
I still think they're a pretty good team. I also feel better about that matchup for Mizzou after watching what they did to Jalen Daniels, because Lenora Sellers is very similar. And I think you could argue that maybe he's a little bit more he's a bigger threat in the run game than maybe he is as a passer compared to Jalen Daniels maybe. And granted, I haven't watched South Carolina's first 2 games, but at least looking at the scores and the box scores, like not super impressed by what I've seen from him. He's still, I think, a very lethal playmaker, and Mizzou's going to have to take account for him. But like Mizzou did really well making sure that Jalen Daniels did not beat you or win with his legs. Like he had what I think 40-ish rush yards when you adjust for sacks. They were able to keep him in the pocket. They were able to kind of contain him and then compress the pocket a little bit. And like I was even, watching the game live, I thought they did fine. I didn't think they probably did as well as what PFF ultimately said they did. And then when PFF said that they had 22 total pressures, which I thought was a pretty high number. And then when I rewatched the game, I was like, oh no, they actually did a pretty good job of forcing him out into, advantageous situations for Mizzou's defense. Like I thought, Damon Wilson and Darius Smith, like I thought those guys actually did really, really well just playing the edge, playing a lot of contain. And then when, Corey Batoon said, go get him in the fourth quarter, they went and got him. Like they were able to get him. They got him on the ground a couple times. They were able to chase him from the pocket. He was on the run out of that pocket when Dalen Carnell was able to get the game sealing interception there at the end. Like he was trying to throw that away and Carnell ran it down at the sideline. Like I thought that was really, really nice. So seeing what they did to Daniels makes me feel a little bit better about what they could potentially do to Lenora Sellers, because watching this guy the last couple, year and some change now, if you can force him into some discomfort back there, you can force him into some mistakes. And I think Mizzou showed that they're plenty capable of doing that. Now, they also showed that the safeties maybe give you a little bit reason to worry about hitting some deep passes over the top. But if you're able to keep Lenora Sellers in the pocket and say, hey, beat us with your arm, or say, kind of a prove it situation, I think I'm like mostly where Mizzou is at after what they did this weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said about Lenora Sellers last year. And then he absolutely torched Missouri with his arm in Columbia, South Carolina. But I feel about the same about South Carolina as I did before the season, because like I thought they were a team that was good, but was probably going to take a little step. Like I thought they were getting that postseason bump from last year and I thought they were going to take a little step back. Like when you come from completely off the radar and you go 9-3, and then everybody expects you to go 9-3, I thought they might take a step back to more of a 7 or 8 win team. Their offense has really struggled. So a couple people in the chat brought up, their special teams are really good. That's like you're not allowed to be in the Beamer family. You get kicked out of the Beamer family if you have bad special teams. So Shane has good special teams. Here's the thing that I was talking about earlier on a different show I did today, and it revolves around special teams. If you have the opportunity in the Louisiana game, I'm not saying you take a knee at the 25-yard line or anything, but don't you want to figure out a way to get Robbie Meyer a chance to kick like a 35, 40-yard field goal just to see how it goes?
Yes, like I just to at least see what you've got. And we were watching him, at least I was. I'm not sure if you caught some in the press box, but we were watching some of the pregame warmups on Saturday, and like he was sailing kicks left and right, like he was, and it was. I want to attribute it to the fact that he's a true freshman. This is a pretty big game. This is a pretty big stage for him to be on, and so he had an extra point blocked, which really wasn't his fault in the game. And then after that, he was like made all his extra points. Cleared it from 20 and 25 yards. I would like to see in this game against Louisiana, I would like to see Drink give him a shot to make something from 30, 35, maybe even from 40. Like we know he's got a strong leg, but especially when it comes to being a kicker, like I feel like half that battle is mental. So like kind of want to just see him go out there and see if he can do it. And then if he can't, maybe that adjusts the way that your offensive play calling goes moving forward. Although I will say, somebody mentioned this on the board too, because you wrote about 4th downs. I wrote about 4th downs in the rewatch. Like it could, there's an argument that like maybe Blake Craig's injury forced Drink to be a more aggressive. And that could be a good thing for Missouri's offense long-term, like knowing that they can do that and knowing that they can call that play or those plays or open up that part of the playbook when they need to. Like that, I thought that was a pretty astute observation. I hadn't thought about it in that way, but I think that could maybe long-term be a good thing for Mizzou, especially in some of these bigger games that they know they're going to have to win.
I mean, bottom line, you don't want the first 40-yard kick he takes to be one he needs to make against South Carolina. You want it to be one that he can, if he doesn't make it, it's fine. Like it's the difference between 31-6 and 28-6 against Louisiana. So like if you're 3rd and 7 on the 28-yard line, maybe you just hand the ball off up the middle and say, we're okay if we get a chance to take 3 instead of trying to go to the end zone on this one. Look, Alabama, I'm not going to talk about UMass. The only thing about UMass is, are they worse than Central Arkansas? What can you tell me, Cody, about Bryant College football?
Probably nothing.
But same. They beat UMass last week. So
okay, good for Bryant College.
That's why I'm bringing them up. It may just be one guy. It may just be a guy named Bryant. Maybe Big Country beat UMass last week. So not talking about them. I don't really want to talk about Alabama either. Everybody feels worse about Alabama. Kalen DeBoer's wife feels worse about Alabama than she did before the season. So we're leaving that one alone. Auburn is better than I thought they were going to be, I think.
They've looked solid, man. Like I get it, like not the strongest schedule to start with, but like they laid it on thick against a Baylor team that I think a lot of people were pretty high on. Granted, it was the season opener and teams change and evolve and grow over the course of the year, but like they went on the road in Waco against a pretty good team and thumped them pretty good, 38-24. Like that's not nothing. And so I think Hugh Freeze, I know he has spent quite a bit of time overhauling the roster from the Harsin era. They've got a lot more talent in there now than they did, even last year. And now I think more crucially than ever, they've got the quarterback, Jackson Arnold, that can really execute Hugh's offense. And so that one on the road at Jordan-Hare, like that is That's a scary one to me. It was already scary, I think, going into the season, but now seeing how well Auburn's been playing these last couple of weeks, that's people should be nervous about that game.
I picked Missouri to lose that game just because I don't know. That's what I felt like doing the day I wrote my game by game prediction. But so here's where I fall into a trap. Like, I decided I didn't like Jackson Arnold as a quarterback very early last year. And so now I feel like I will never like him as a quarterback. Like, the reason I didn't think Auburn would be good was I don't think he's a good quarterback. Well, they have really good receivers. And if Jackson Arnold actually is a good quarterback, maybe I need to pay attention to that and not just decide that I think he's bad based on what I thought 12 months ago. And frankly, what I saw at Faurot Field last year. Like, he lost Oklahoma that game because he didn't know how to hold on to the football. So still a swing game. Like, nobody said that's the thing. Missouri schedule, you don't look at a single one of these games and go, no way they can win this. But also, Louisiana and UMass are the only two left, and I guess not Mississippi State anymore. I guess Louisiana and UMass are the only two that you look at and say there's no way they lose.
Yeah, I think there's something to the idea of that Missouri has South Carolina, Alabama, A&M, Mississippi State all at home, because I think like what they've done the last few years under Drink at home, like, you can't understate that. I think that's pretty important, especially looking at this schedule. So, like, chief order of business, if this team wants to get to the playoff, they've got to protect home field. And I think they're more than capable of doing that with this roster, with this team, especially where they'll be, 2 weeks from now, right? Like, we saw growth through the Kansas game. We should continue to see growth against Louisiana. They should be better when they kick off against South Carolina than what we saw on Saturday. And so that should continue to snowball. And so you protect home, then you're looking at winning at least 2, maybe 3 of the road games. It sounds like the chat feels pretty good about the Arkansas game at the end of the year, but there's a chance that there could be some pressure on that game. That's all I'm saying, guys.
Right.
Oklahoma looks different. So that is not the same Oklahoma team that Mizzou played last year. And then we've talked about Auburn and Vanderbilt with Diego Pavia in Nashville. Like, that is 2 back-to-back games like that. Like, that's a pretty pivotal stretch for Mizzou if they've truly got these playoff aspirations that they think they can run down. Like, this is not going to be an easy path to get there.
Yeah, I said the goal was 5-1 in these 6 home games, and that's probably still the goal. But if you want to make the playoff, you might need to be 6-0 after 6, to be quite honest. So Auburn probably better than we thought they were, a month ago. I'm probably the exception here on Vanderbilt because my opinion on Vanderbilt has not changed. I thought they were this is who I thought they were before the season. I'm not surprised that they beat Virginia Tech. I think they're a solid, I don't think they're a team that anybody's worried about winning 10 games, but I think they're absolutely a team that could win 7, maybe 8 and wreck somebody's year.
I can see that. I mean, you talk about wrecking years. Like, Vanderbilt plays South Carolina. Now, granted, that game's in Columbia this upcoming weekend. Like, you talk about years getting wrecked. Like, that is a prime game of Diego Pavia is going to walk in with a chip on his shoulder and try to silence that crowd. I can totally.
This is the first kind of separation game in the SEC. Like, South Carolina, if you are what you think you are, you have to win this game this weekend. But I'd say they have
to win it convincingly too. Like, there should be none of this messing around winning it in the fourth quarter. Like, you got to take care of business and really stiff arm that Vanderbilt team. Because like you said, they're scrappy. Like, that is a scrappy team that is going to ruin somebody's season. And if South Carolina truly is the 11th best team in the country, like, you got to keep those guys at bay. Like, you can't let them get hot.
So here's the odd thing. Like, I think if you ask most Missouri fans, who do you want to win that game? I think their snap reaction will be Vanderbilt. Missouri fans should want South Carolina to win that game.
How bad do you want game day in Columbia?
Well, not only game day, but then they come in here 3-0. It's probably like number 11 versus number 21 or something like that. You're going to get a significant amount of credit for beating them. If you get a South Carolina team coming off a loss to Vandy, people are going to go, well, yeah, cool. Now they've lost 2 in a row. They're not actually any good.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's a game that South Carolina Vanderbilt, that's a game that I'm going to try and watch or follow along on Saturday because there's a lot of intrigue there. And I think, I think Mizzou fans should want South Carolina to win that game, if only because it heightens the stakes for when they come to Columbia to play Missouri, and that's only going to bode better for the Tigers. I agree with that.
Exactly. Vanderbilt. So we've addressed them. A&M. I've just got to, like, Cody, you are probably not familiar with my Texas A&M feelings.
I've heard some things. I've heard some rumors. I've read some things on the board. I lay it on thick. What do you got?
Not a fan. Have said for years that I would have retired by now if I could buy Texas A&M for what I think they're worth and sell them for what everybody else seems to think they're worth every August. I would have so much. I would just roll around in my money every. And here's why I can't even assess the Texas A&M game right now, because August A&M is very rarely November A&M. So I don't know what we're going to see out of Texas A&M 2.5 months from now, or 2 months from now.
Well, I still don't think we know what this A&M team is. Like, you look at their schedule and what they've done so far, like they basically beat the same team twice, like UTSA and Utah State, almost virtually the same score, 42-24 and then 44-22. Like,
even the same letters involved in the schools, honestly. There's just an extra H in there with Utah State.
Control C, Control V, weeks 1 and week 2. Like, that's all the Aggies did. And I don't know what to make of these guys so far. And I guess the good news is over the next couple of weeks, we're going to learn a little bit more about this A&M team, because they play at Notre Dame this week, night game on NBC, I think. That's at Notre Dame. And then they return to College Station to host a pretty good Auburn team. Now, Auburn's different on the road than at home, but that's going to be an interesting game. Like, you talk about these separator games in the SEC, like that one's going to be intriguing to me and should teach us a little bit more about this A&M team. I think coming into this season, I kind of thought A&M's defense would be good, not great, and their offense could be capable of doing some fun things because of Marcel Reed's skill set. But I'm not, like, maybe a high floor, but maybe not necessarily a high ceiling type team. Like somebody said, Texas 8-4. That sounds about right to me.
Yep. Mississippi State, look, I think they're better than any of us thought they were, but Mississippi State really crystallizes this for me. Is there a game that could be played in the SEC that you look at and say, oh, that's a no doubt, I know who will win that game?
I think I feel that way about Mississippi State because Missouri gets this game at home. I feel pretty good about that.
But you can see a world where Mississippi State wins it. My point is, if you take team number 1 and team number 16, there are days team number 16 in this league can beat team. Like, Kentucky almost beat Ole Miss last week. I think Kentucky is like 14, 15, or 16 in this league. I think maybe the top of this league isn't quite as good as people thought, but I think the bottom's a whole lot better.
I agree with that. It's almost like it's constricted a little bit. Like, the top has kind of come back to the pack, but the bottom basement dwellers have also inched their way up a little bit. And so it's not quite almost any given Saturday feel, but sometimes there's that feel to it, because every now and again you get Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama. And so it's just like, that's a weird sentence to say out loud, even though they've only done that once in the last 41 years, but it happened. And so, like, we have to take that into account, right?
I could see a world in which every team in the SEC, like 6-2 gets you to Atlanta, and last place is like 2-6.
Yeah, I agree with that, because that was the case last year, wasn't it? Like, there was Georgia won a tiebreaker, or no, maybe it was Texas that won a tiebreaker because they lost to Georgia in the regular season. And so, yeah, because wow, this is all coming back to me right now. Texas had to beat A&M in order to punch their ticket to Atlanta last year, and that was in the final week of the regular season. And if A&M had won, they would have gone to Atlanta, because there was still that path for A&M to get to the playoff last year.
That's right.
This parity is really fun. I enjoy it.
It really is, and I just think that I think this league. I mean, Texas was 7-1 last year. Georgia and Tennessee were 6-2, but like Mississippi State was 0-8 and Kentucky was 1-7. So the bottom was still really bad. I think the bottom is better this year. Like, even if you think Arkansas is the worst team in this league, which I don't think they are, but like, they're going to beat somebody. Mississippi State just beat somebody. Like, if Mississippi State was in the Big 12, apparently they might win the damn thing.
Says a little bit about the Big 12, and
I mean, it does, but I think it also says a little bit about the SEC.
No, I think there's some truth to that, which is why, like, those games in particular, like South Carolina, Alabama, as well as Mississippi State and A&M, like, if I'm Mizzou, I feel really good about the fact that I get those games at home, which as we continue down the schedule, having to go to Norman to play that Oklahoma team, like that is another game where I'm just like, like I learned a little bit more about Oklahoma after seeing what they did this past weekend against a Michigan team that maybe was ranked a little too high. Yeah. However, that's a good quarterback. That's going to be a good quarterback. And I know Brent Venables' defense is designed to frustrate and, force young quarterbacks into making mistakes more often than not. So to that end, they did their job. But like also Oklahoma's got the offense and a quarterback this year that they seem to believe in. And that I think is what scares me a little bit.
Oklahoma is like Vandy in that I think most people are looking at it saying, oh, they're better than I thought they were. But I kind of thought maybe they'd be pretty good before the year. Now, they could actually be pretty good. And here is their SEC schedule. Number 24, Auburn. Number 7, Texas. Number 11, South Carolina. Number 17, Ole Miss. Number 15, Tennessee. Number 19, Alabama. Number 25, Missouri. And number 3, LSU. They play 8 SEC games, and all 8 teams are currently ranked.
Whoever put the SEC schedule together has got to be an Oklahoma State alum or something, because that's the second year in a row where Oklahoma is just like, welcome to the SEC, baptism by fire, ready to go.
And what it infuriated me when they came in the league that Oklahoma got that, and somebody at the SEC offices just sent Steve Sarkisian an invitation and said, would you like to play in the SEC title game? We're not going to make you play damn anybody in this league for your first 2 years. I don't understand it. Like, Texas deserved that treatment too.
I tend to agree with you. It's going to be interesting now that they're going to bump to 9 games. Like, 1, who's everybody's permanent opponents, and then 2, how are they going to do the rotation each year? So don't
use the words permanent opponents. Greg Sankey was very clear to me. They are annual opponents. They're not necessarily permanent.
Greg, be honest. Greg.
No, but some of them are going to be permanent. Like Arkansas and Oklahoma are going to be permanent for Missouri, but I can see, like, if South Carolina is Missouri's other one for 4 years, then I can see 4 years in there going, yeah, we'll change up the third one.
I honestly wouldn't hate that.
It.
I don't know. I think at some point over the course of a 4 or 5 year stretch, I would like to see all SEC teams play everybody. So I don't know how feasible or how. Yeah. So that's what I want. Like, at some point, just make sure that everybody crosses paths with everybody else.
Because that's the whole point of the 3-6 thing is now you will play every team in the league every 2 years, and you will play them home and away every 4 years.
Good. We need that.
So theoretically, I was going to say every player that comes here will get to play at every SEC stadium, but that's pretending they stay here 4 years, and that's a stupid thing that doesn't happen. So I'm wrong about that. But no, he was just saying what they're going to do is put out a 4-year schedule, and then at the end of 4 years, they will revisit it, and they could, there could be some games that are different. And I like that because it's also the competitive balance thing, right? Like, if Missouri's are Arkansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina for the first 4 years, cool. But what if you get to year 3 and 4 of that, and Arkansas, Oklahoma, and South Carolina are 3 of the worst 4 teams in this league? Then you got to change things up, man. Like, you can't just say, well, this is who we've always played, so this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, having the flexibility to adjust that on the fly. And the SEC has always been pretty forward thinking about that. So I have no doubt that they'll probably do that. But just that, I think that would help as they try to navigate this 9-game conference schedule thing.
Yeah. A lot of randomness tonight. Billy, I tell you what, I feel like there's probably some questions in the chat. If we can do the last 15 minutes or so, just kind of talking about what they want to talk about, because again, like, they're playing Louisiana, and Louisiana lost to Rice. And I simply don't have the energy to break down Lunch Winfield's game at quarterback. I hope he plays this week, though. I really hope he plays.
They taught me when I was really young to never play with your food. And so the fact that they lost to Rice, like, you can't do that. You can't play with your food like that. It's not fair.
Had Lunch played against Rice, though, it would have been an interesting scenario. Mike's asking, when accounting for pass pro as well, is Roberts better than Hardy? I don't think he's better, but I think he's going to play more.
I thought they were both, in terms of pass pro specifically, I thought they were both fine. Like, I thought they were both serviceable. Like, obviously, Hardy had the big pass protection, block in the Central Arkansas game. Like I remember that. I think that was on Bo's 31-yard touchdown run, right? Because he got the final block of the late rusher, and then Bo stepped up and took off, and everything was there. Like, but in terms of like the rewatching the Kansas game, I'm not sure that I saw anything glaring in terms of like, oh, they missed that. So that's a good sign. So, but I tend to agree with you that I think Roberts is going to get a lot more play. I also think a lot of his like big chunk yardage in the Kansas game was, I don't want to say Hardy walked so that Roberts could run, but kind of was that way, right? Like Hardy got 25 carries, Roberts got 13, right? So like clearly we know who 1 and 2 are, and just I also like the fact that Roberts was able to rip off a 63-yard touchdown run to basically ice the game. Like we kind of saw that coming because I know in the press box, we were up there when Mizzou was running the ball early in the game, like they, 4 yards here, 5 yards here, 4 yards here. And I'm like, they are leaning hard on that Kansas defensive line. Like this Missouri's offensive line built to run block very well. And the fact that they were leaning on Kansas, as good as that defensive line was early in the game, I'm like, it's only a matter of time before they pop one big like that. And then Roberts was able to do it. So, but I do agree with you. I'd like to see him play more. I think they will, especially in this game against Louisiana, a true running back rotation where these guys gets, equal snap share.
Well, it's so interesting because, I mean, clearly they like Roberts as the third down back and the pass protection guy because he got 39 passing snaps and Ahmad Hardy got 10. So, I mean, that tells you right there, or 37 and 10. But Ahmad Hardy was only on the field for 36 plays and he carried the ball on 22 of them. So when he's out there, he's largely getting the football. Whereas Roberts is going to play more snaps simply because he's out there on so many more passing plays. And so I think at the end of the year, Jamal Roberts will have taken more than 50% of the running back snaps, but Ahmad Hardy will have more than 50% of the rushing attempts.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's probably a good assessment. So this is what we refer to as a champagne problem when you've got two really good running backs like this. So shout out to Drink and the personnel department for assembling this roster.
I mean, he's run the ball really well since he's been here every single year. Migrating Coconuts, which is an elite YouTube name. I enjoy that. Should we be concerned about Hardy and the fumbles? I know he put one on the ground. A lot of people are saying that he was closer to more.
So he put 2 on the ground. One of them was after he was down. That's why like he was only credited with 1 fumble, but like he had the fumble that Keegan Trost recovered. And then he had another one where he broke through for like a 6-yard gain. And then after his butt landed, he dropped the ball. I'm not worried, but I am curious. Like
you're paying attention.
Yes. Just put 2 hands on the ball, dude. Like this isn't difficult, right? They're yelling at Bo to do it. And then after he fumbled, every time he tried to step up in the pocket, immediately 2 hands on the ball, right? Like it should be pretty easy for a running back whose job is to carry the ball to put 2 hands on the ball. So yeah, not worried, but that's a good way to phrase it. I'm paying attention.
It is the one thing that will get you benched as a running back. I mean, there's no, and Ahmad Hardy's really good, and he's not a fumbler yet, right? But like, don't do it again, or you get that reputation. All right, moving on. Although Migrating Coconuts could continue to ask questions, and I'd be fine. Floyd the Barber is Pavia, Missouri's most complete quarterback since Chase Daniel. I'm just gonna channel Eli Drinkwitz here. It's week 2. It's week 2. It's Kansas and Central Arkansas. Let us not start etching BEAU on the Heisman Trophy just quite yet.
I don't think we're there yet. But dang it, man, he
looked really good. He looks really good.
Yeah,
I agree.
You can tell he's super confident running this offense, and I think what we saw against Kansas, and granted it's a rivalry game, so they're going to pull out maybe not all the stops, but a lot of the stops to try and win this game, right? You can tell that Kirby Moore is able and willing to crack open a little bit more of the playbook with this guy behind center. And so does that mean he's the most complete since Daniel? I don't know. You're probably better positioned to answer that than I am, but I think it says a lot that Kirby Moore is more than willing to dive deeper into the playbook and call a lot more things, a lot more fun things, because he knows that this guy can execute it. I think that says something.
I said after the game on Saturday, I'm comfortable saying that Missouri is better at quarterback than it's been since 2018. And that was when Drew Lock left. And look, Drew was not a bad athlete. Like he was a complete quarterback. He could run. but he's nails when it matters. When it matters the most, way more. I can't read that sentence. Can you?
He's nails when it matters the most. What he means is that
Okay.
Bo on the money downs. I wrote this stat numerous times. I can tell you right off the top of the dome. On 3rd and 4th down against Kansas, Bo went 14 of 17 for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, in no way am I trying to discredit Bo. I am saying, like, we haven't seen him play badly yet, right? We're going to see, like, there's going to be a day it's not working, right? It's easy to say right now he's better than Brady Cook because, like, I saw Brady Cook's bad days. Bo is going to have, whether it's a bad day or just at least not as good a day as this. I love watching the kid play. I think he's the reason that most people think Missouri is better than they thought Missouri was 2 weeks ago. I also know there's going to be a day where he's going to throw an interception or two at some point. He's going to, he's going to, at the end of a first quarter, he's going to be 3 for 9 sometime this year. So that's all I'm saying is let's see a day that he's under a little bit more stress before we put him in, dude, James Franklin was a really good quarterback here. Drew Lock was a really good quarterback. Matty Mock won a lot of games. Oh, by the way, if you're going back to Chase Daniel, that means is he a more complete quarterback than Blaine Gabbert, who, like, I get it didn't work in the NFL, but Blaine had a really good college career and he was the number 10 pick. So I'm not going anywhere near that far yet.
Yeah, I will say though, to why people feel, and even why we feel maybe more encouraged about the ceiling of this Missouri offense and how we think it's probably higher than it was when we were coming in to the season. Like I thought it was good that he did face some adversity against Kansas, right? Like he had the fumble, he took a few sacks, he had to deal with a pretty good defensive line, and he still overcame it and had a very good day. Like that was encouraging. Yeah. I want to see more of that. Like I want to put consistent behavior on tape, and then we can truly start believing and dreaming really big. So we're not there yet, but I understand why people are excited.
Yeah. Kansas was targeting Carnell on long routes. That worries me a little, covering on long routes. Yeah, look, so that's a twofold thing, right? Like, you don't want to get caught in a situation where you're asking Dalen to cover 50 yards downfield. Also, sometimes you have to tip your cap to an opposing offensive coordinator and say, man, he caught us there. Like, you just got us in a bad matchup. The first one was he was one-on-one 50 yards downfield, and that can't happen. The second one, it wasn't just him. Jalen Catalon was chasing too. Like, that was not man coverage by Dalen Carnell. That was Jalen Catalon messed that up too.
Yeah, well, and to Carnell's credit, like, he only allowed 2 catches against Kansas. This is per Pro Football Focus. I don't know how accurate some of these stats are, but like I tend to believe a few of these, and like the receiver corner, receiver defensive back matchups is one that I tend to trust. He only gave up 2 catches. Now, one of them was that 50-yard bomb to Levi Wentz that set up a touchdown, so you can't erase that. But I thought he played fine. I thought the secondary, by and large, maybe did better than what we thought in the moment when we were watching the game. But even on the rewatch, they weren't great. They were good. I would give them a step above fine. Like, I know I like to say, like, they were not good, not bad, just fine. The secondary I thought was maybe a step above fine, maybe somewhere between fine and good. And Carnell had, really one bad play. Otherwise, like, I thought he played a pretty decent game.
Right. Overall. I mean, Carnell just got beat on one play. Like, if you get beat on a 50-yard route, he's a glorified linebacker. I've got no issue with it. Like, he was being asked to do something that you don't want him. Like, I remember watching a Chiefs playoff game a few years ago going, hey, why is Justin Houston 55 yards downfield? That's not really his fault. That's a stupid defense.
I still have nightmares about that, but keep going.
Yeah. So my point being, like, if they catch you in a situation where Dalen's 50 yards downfield, that's not his fault. He's doing what he was asked to do. He's being asked to do something you shouldn't ask him to do. My bigger concern is, again, seeing Jalen Catalon chasing on the other one, seeing Marvin Burks fire toward the line of scrimmage at the snap, and then they throw over his head for a 22-yard touchdown where a guy's uncovered. Like, you said the secondary was fine. I think the corners were fine.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Safety's a concern. I don't think it, like, again, we said this on the postgame show. We're going to judge this team the way they want to be judged. They want to be judged on, can we get to the playoff? they need to get better at that position if that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, our immediate, from the hip take from this game was that the corners are fine. The corners are pretty good. The safeties might cost them a game if they screw up enough times. And I don't think they were close to screwing up the Kansas game, but the way they played is why that was like a from the hip take that we all had. And it was like, like you got to get that fixed, or you got to figure out some different defensive alignments to maybe protect the safeties a little bit.
And it's a really tough position because it's literally the last line of defense. So if you screw up, it is very noticeable, and it is usually points. If the defensive tackle screws up, it might be 9 yards instead of 3. If the outside linebacker screws up, it might be 12 yards instead of 6. If the safety screws up, it might be 80 and 6 points.
Yeah, and that's when it comes to the energy of a college football game, which is played by 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old. I hate to call them kids because they're all grown men and bigger than me, but what you're dealing with there. Like an 80-yard bomb for 6 can flip the energy of a game very quickly. Like we all saw what happened this past weekend, and Kansas had all the energy in the first quarter, and it took a minute for Mizzou to claw back and really regain or re-seize the energy of the game. When they did, they were fine. But it took them a minute. And when you're dealing with college kids, sometimes an 80-yard bomb, sometimes that can flip a game, man.
Okay, so we've got a question here. Now, before I read this question, I've got to know, Cody, are you a uniform guy?
I would consider myself a curious fashionista. I'll call it that.
So uniforms are a thing that you will discuss and that interests you?
I put it in the live updates file that I ran this weekend.
Okay. So they're going to like you far more than, they already like you more than they like me, but
I think they like the mustache more than they actually like me.
Anti-uniform discussion. I don't care. I have said a million times they can wear ballet slippers and pink tutus, and if they win games, that's fine. I want more uniforms that have no school colors in them, because that makes people I know that would make people very angry, and that's what I like. That's what I root for. I root for chaos. So the question is, can we get ESPN to add the missing black tiger stripe to our logo on the broadcast graphics? Flick 420 knows I will not even address that question. Cody may or may not. I don't.
To be honest, I was not really paying attention to the score bug. I don't normally pay attention to the score bug, but now I feel like I'm going to when I rewatch the Louisiana game just because of Flick 0420. So I'll pay attention. I'll see what they put up there. But to be honest, I don't normally look at those things.
Again, my only request is more anthracite. That's what I want. Has anyone had a more productive portal class than Drake? I don't know, because I don't know enough about who everybody else got and stuff like that. But this team is heavily relying. And he mentions Bo, Hardy, Coleman, Trotter, and Wilson. But there's other guys there. Darius Smith. It's not this year, but Catalan is there. Stephen Hall is there. Santana Banner, who, was he basically split snaps with Marvin Burks. There are transfers all over the Keegan Trost, Dominic Chadis. He can't field a team without the portal this year.
Yeah, no, it's hard to judge because I'm not super privy, at least on a larger scale, to what other teams' portal classes are. I'm familiar, I guess, with Alabama's, but their portal class really isn't all that big. And their big portal wins were the fact that they didn't let anybody go in the spring. So, more familiar with Alabama than maybe others. But you got to give Drink credit for going and getting these guys. And then you got to give credit to the coaching staff for not only plugging and playing them, but really all of these guys seem to have found their roles on this team very quickly, right? Bo, obviously a quarterback. Hardy, I think we all had an idea that he was going to be RB1 coming into the season, but I feel like over the last couple of weeks, he has solidified that. Coleman's obviously a dude. Trotter, I've been really impressed with. He's been really fun to watch the first couple of weeks. And then Wilson, I know there were a lot of people that were like, where was Wilson? He didn't have a tackle in the box score. It's he still had 5 pressures. The goal was him and Smith to play contain against Daniels. And on the rewatch, paying closer attention to it than maybe I was in real time, he was very, very impressive. That's a very versatile defensive end who can do a lot of really good stuff for this Missouri defense. And so people are like, are we worried about the pass rush? Maybe if we are looking at this team through the lens of will they get to the playoff, maybe the pass rush is a little bit of a concern, but that Damon Wilson's a dude, man. I think people should really pay closer attention to what he does week in and week out, because he can do a lot of stuff.
And what I like is how many guys he has that have more than 1 year. Bo has another year. Purdy has at least one more, probably two. Trotter has at least one more, maybe two. All these. Damon Wilson theoretically has more. And a couple of people in the chat have mentioned it. I haven't heard Keegan Trost's name all year, other than when he recovered a fumble, and I mean that as a compliment.
That's a very good thing.
Right
That's a very good thing.
So he's obviously been pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and somebody else said in the chat too, like, not just these transfers, but guys that maybe came in last year as well. Like Toriano Pride, I thought played a really, really good game on Saturday. So I think he only gave up a couple of short passes, or at least passes that were credited to him for giving up. But like he was doing really well in run defense, or when Kansas was trying to run a quick screen pass, like he would run through his blocks to at least get a body on the guy to slow him down so that other guys could come in to help. Like that's a dude that plays. You want to feel good about the corners. Like Toriano Pride, your CB1, and you feel really good about just, he's over there. He's going to take over that third of the field. Like, you don't got to worry about it. So, like, that's...
It's interesting because coming into the season, I think Dre Norwood was the number one guy. Now, that may have flipped. Like, that group has played better than I think probably I expected coming in. I did notice Stephen Hall got a little bit more play last game than he has previously. But it's basically those three guys. They're going to get all the snaps. Nick DeLoach did not play on Saturday. They're going to play three corners.
Yeah. Well, and they like to cycle all those guys through. So that's, if Batoon feels good about that, then I'm inclined to feel pretty good about that. But yeah, Pride has cleaned up his penalties, Philip. That's a really good point. But I thought he played a pretty good game with the opportunities that he got against Kansas. And like, he's a guy that, like, when he first got into the transfer portal last year, like when I was still covering Alabama, that was a guy that Alabama was also talking to. So like, we were pretty familiar with him coming from Clemson. Like, obviously coming home to Missouri makes sense for him. But he was a guy that we kind of thought, okay, if he comes to Alabama, he's probably coming to play pretty immediately. And so to see him obviously making the big impact here, not surprised in the least.
All right, we'll finish up. Last question tonight from Ed Meyer. After week 2, how do you feel about the pass rush?
I don't think it's where it needs to be for this team to get to the playoff yet, but I do think it's better than maybe some people are giving it credit for, because they've got some dudes on the edge that I think Batoon can trust, and they're also versatile enough to, obviously they can go win their one-on-ones. We saw that against Central Arkansas. I know it's Central Arkansas, but you want to see these dudes win their one-on-ones. And then also ask them to, okay, you're going to not necessarily rush the passer in the same way against Kansas. We want you to play a little bit more contained. And they did that flawlessly. Like, Jalen Daniels was not comfortable hardly at all. I know he had a handful of good drives. I know he had a handful of big plays here and there, but like, Missouri was basically like, we are going to make you uncomfortable. We are going to squeeze the pocket a little bit, and we're going to make you beat us with your arm. Let's see if you can do it. Jalen Daniels won his fair share of battles, but Missouri ultimately, no pun intended, won the war. And a lot of credit goes to Wilson and Smith on the edge. I thought they played really well.
I think we pay, and I include myself here, we pay too much attention to sacks and not enough attention to how much were you in the backfield. Darius Smith spent a lot of time in the backfield and frankly got robbed of a sack on what was not a very good face mask call. So I think that I think that's probably the part of the game that I would say 2 days later, I feel better about it than I probably would have felt about it on Saturday night.
Yeah. As a team, they've 22 pressures. Like, Zion Young has shown that, like, when he gets the opportunity to go get the quarterback, like, he is more often than not going to take advantage, because everybody saw the sack, but like, he had a couple others where he was able to get into Daniel's face and chase him from the pocket. And I think this pass rush, again, maybe not at the level that they need to be to truly be a playoff team, but I think they're better than maybe people give them credit for through the first couple weeks.
And I'll say this too. I think, like, he won't, I'll just say right now, there's no way he's going to be all SEC at the end of the season. But I think Chris McClellan's playing at a level that, like, could merit some consideration if he does it all year long. I noticed him a lot. You don't notice defensive tackles a lot, and I noticed him a lot early on Saturday.
Yeah, well, early and then also late when they were, just the run, Missouri's run defense, like, that really helped them, I think, when it came to defending Jalen Daniels. Because one thing that Jalen Daniels needs to really get the most out of his Superman capabilities is a consistent run game. And that was not there at all. Like, there was, like, I know part of it is because Kansas just didn't have the ball between the second and third quarter, but Kansas couldn't run the ball at all. And, like, this was a team, granted, against Fresno State and Wagner, was averaging 240 rush yards a game. Like, Missouri held them to, I think, only 57 when you adjust for sacks. Like, that is insane. Like, you can trust this Missouri run defense. And that D-line, like, I know we were talking, this question was about pass rush, but that D-line's pretty mean against the run.
All right, so we got to finish up. What day this week is your in-depth scouting report of Lunch Winfield running?
Probably on Friday when I like do the normal like game preview. I don't know that
I actually don't even think he's their starting quarterback now. But
I'm not going to grind the tape on Lunch Winfield, but I'm probably going to go look at some box scores and see what exactly he's all about. But that's I don't know how it's not going to be 41 thoughts on Lunch Winfield. I'll say that much.
In the first, I might do 41 thoughts on the Lunch Winfield, but in the first 3 weeks of the season, we have gotten Dude Person and Lunch Winfield. Like, I'm not sure anybody's had it better than us.
This is tremendous. All name team based on the teams that Missouri has played this season. Like that's probably going to be a piece of content come December.
We might have to. That's a bye-week story for sure. Dude and Lunch are the co-captains at this point. So appreciate you guys joining us. Sorry for the issues at the beginning. Truly, still no idea what happened, but we got it figured out. Do need to remind you at the end here, especially because it might have gotten a little messed up at the beginning, that we are brought to you every single Monday night. That wasn't choppy. That was just me randomly having problems talking. But we're brought to you every Monday night by James Carlton, State Farm Insurance, Webster Groves, Missouri. If you live in Illinois or Missouri, get in touch with James. He can save you money on your insurance. He's also going to do a little bit for Missouri's NIL efforts. Tell him you heard about it on powermizzou.com. We appreciate that. He appreciates it. And thanks for hanging out, guys. We will we don't have anything else scheduled, but who knows? We may wake up at 8:45 tomorrow morning and some 5-star committed, and then I'm going to hang out on YouTube again. So thanks to Cody. Thanks to Billy. See all you guys later on.